Welcome to Ear to the Streets podcast with myself, T Dot, episode 2 of season 3. We finally got there. I did say it was coming, so it's been a bit delayed, but got a special guest with me as always. Do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners? Let them
How
know who
you
you are.
doing? Yeah, my name's Martin Yates. I'm a singer-songwriter, artist, whatever you're going to call it.
Well, you're definitely an artist. I think last time we spoke, I was trying to say your sound's very different. It's hard to sort of pinpoint it down to one genre or one particular sound, and I still stand by that. I think the sort of range that you've got varies so wide. It's a good thing to have. So definitely an artist, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
man.
One thing I wanted to touch on, because I feel like we may have touched on this in the first episode that we recorded together, but it was to do with the acoustic version of your song that you have on that you did. Is it Let You Go?
Yeah, the recent one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I don't think I don't know if that was. I think that just came out before we did our first episode. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was released maybe around the April or so, March or Feb, and we recorded in April.
Yeah, that's right. So Let Your Love came out in October. Then we did the acoustic version of that one. And then I think we spoke around when Yesterday came out, which was around February,
Really?
March time.
I was trying
Somewhere
to work
there.
this
Yeah,
out
yeah.
before.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah. So yesterday was out. I thought yesterday was.
Yeah, Yesterday came out. I think it was like March the 6th. No, February 6th or something, somewhere there. Almost a year ago, which is mad.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's crazy. Because I was trying to work this out this morning. I was trying to think, when did we record? And I went back and checked, and I'm sure it was April. Can't remember the date
Yeah,
in April, but
yeah.
God, that seems like ages ago.
It does
Um,
feel like it. A lot's happened in that year.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell me about
Lots
it.
happened.
But talk to me about the acoustic version, because I don't think I don't know if we mentioned the acoustic version that you did for that. Was there a visual for that as well? Did you do a visual for that one?
Yeah, Let Your Love. We did it in 1901 Arts Club, which is in central London.
Okay.
Um, Gorgeous room. Acoustics were amazing. It was just me, guitar, and piano. We recorded it pretty much there and then. You make
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
tweaks and everything afterwards. But yeah, everything was natural, everything organic. I didn't want to compress anything too much. I wanted it to be as authentic as it possibly could be. So, yeah, man, the result was incredible. Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Definitely. And what have you actually been up to? This is one of my big questions. So obviously, I know you've been busy. I obviously got you on Instagram, and I think you're on my Facebook as well. But I know you're busy, always in the studio. So what have you been up to in the last sort of 10 months? I suppose it's been since we last spoke.
Yeah, so I mean, the EP was meant to come out much earlier than it is now. But obviously, with COVID and stuff like that, I wanted to have kind of an impact on people, and I wanted it to be more of an aftermath of the whole COVID thing. I didn't want to release it during, because I wanted people to feel it a little bit more.
Mm.
And when people have got their freedom completely back, I feel like it will grasp them a little bit. So since May last year, we've been kind of putting the final tweaks on things. I wrote a new song around May, June time, and then we got back into the studio, and that was like the last song to go on the record. And then June, we started an acoustic tour, a strip back tour. We did like 6 dates across the UK. We did Birmingham, Manchester, London, Dover, and Liverpool, which was really
Oh
cool.
wow, you went to Liverpool. You should have
Yeah,
told me. I didn't know.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's
around the
quite a
corner.
stripped back, really intimate show. But it was cool to kind of get back out there. That was the first time in like almost a year that we
Mm.
performed. So just really nice to get back. And then we ended it with like a massive headline in Birmingham. So it was really, really cool. And then since then, it's been on and off writing,
Yeah.
getting ready for the next project after this one comes out. So that's already written and it's being produced at the minute. We're getting the arrangement sorted and quartets and strings and orchestra stuff together, which will be really
Mm.
cool. I've done a track with James Reid, who's been a guest on here,
Wow.
I think,
Okay.
before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different sound to what I'm used to. So it was like he played some moody chords on his guitar, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Very indie sound. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm excited for that one to come out, especially. That'll be probably summer this year.
Yeah, that's cool. Shout out, James.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to talk obviously because I think when we last spoke, if I'm if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure lockdown had just started, or the big lockdown had just started around then.
Yeah.
And obviously, you just mentioned you did manage to get some dates in, which is a privilege
Yeah.
in this day and age for some artists. They don't even get to do that now. It's all, live streams or cancellations or rearranging. But what was that like in terms of adjusting back to performing live in front of an audience or a crowd, and having to, was there an adjustment that you had to do for not doing it for a period of time, and then having to come back into it?
You know what? I didn't believe that it was gonna happen until we was on the road traveling to the venue.
even
I
even
was
then
like,
it's a bit
yeah, no,
it might
completely.
not
We
happen.
was all a bit, yeah, we was all a bit doubtful, and I was constantly in contact with the venue, the promoter of the shows, etc. I was like, "Is it definitely going ahead? Because I can't do it again." Being an emotional wreck. But yeah, when we got into the venue, we sound checked. I was like, "Okay." The people started coming in. I was like, "Yeah, this is good feeling," you know.
Yeah,
But it was that contact you have with an audience. That's what I missed the most. I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
think I would. I'm not mad on touring. I find it a bit isolating as well, but we should all be used to isolating by now, I guess. um, you know, um, but yeah, it was just fun. It was just fun. I just said to my band, I know, it's a professional atmosphere and etc. But I said, just have fun with it.
Yeah,
Just have a
yeah.
great time. This might be the last time until a year or 2 years down the line. So just take it as it
Enjoy.
comes and and soak it up. And then we did the full band show in Birmingham, which was the end of the tour. And that was we just played about on stage. We were taking song requests and all sorts. Like we didn't stick to anything. Um, Anyway, it was just nice to see people enjoying themselves and not be socially distanced and being
Mm.
restricted to what they can actually do and enjoy it to full capacity. And we performed at the Hare and Hounds, and that venue in itself is so iconic to me. Like, I've seen so many great people there. So it's just like,
100%.
yeah, this feels good. And since then, we've done a couple of odd shows. We performed at the Ned in London, which is like a really prestigious venue, which scared the life out of me when I got in there because it's like it's in the round.
It's big. It's
It's like
big.
Wembley Arena,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's big.
It's huge. And obviously being in the center of that, you just got all these eyes staring at you. So I was like, okay, we can do it. We can do it. Just get through it. But yeah, that was amazing. That was the last time we was on stage. That was like end of November.
It was
I
22nd or
can't.
something, wasn't it? The 22nd of
Yeah,
November.
22nd.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just kind of gearing up and getting the set list ready for this year to implement the new songs and stuff. So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah, that's cool. Talk to me about James Reid, the collaboration, because that was actually a question that I had, that I wanted to ask you anyway. But you said, and you can't almost, it's almost like you read my question before you knew what I was going to ask you. But I was going to ask you, because you're quite unique, and as I mentioned at the start of this, that you're quite an artist that can probably go and walk into different rooms and be able to still hold your own in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like to have to adapt working with someone like James Reid, who is slightly maybe different to your style of sound? What was that adaptation like for you? How easy was it for you?
Do you know what? It was super comfortable after about 10 minutes. He made me a herbal tea. He got his sage ad to get all the energy going in the room and stuff. It was just so cool. He's so cool. He's
Yeah,
such
yeah,
a cool
yeah.
guy. I had the privilege of living with him for a little bit in London while I was doing some projects down there in the summer.
Oh, cool, cool.
And it was just fun. He's just such a positive, uplifting spirit to be around. And I
Yeah,
needed that at the time. And then he started playing the chords, and I was just like, this is flowing so well. Like, and we finished it not too long ago, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, ready to be produced and stuff. But it's a song called If You Could See Me Now.
okay.
It's a very, whereas my songs are usually really bitter towards the situation, this is more stepping back and being like, I've moved on now. How do you feel
Reflection.
looking at me? Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about me moving on with my life and not really giving you the time of day anymore? It's
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of song. Talks about breaking chains, and it's such a cool lyric. It's
yeah, yeah.
nothing like I've ever done before. So I'm really, really, really proud of that one.
Is that something you think going forward? Because I don't really necessarily think, I've had to comment how you just described it, but I don't think it's always dark with you, or it's always,
Mm,
is that something you would want to do a bit more of in terms of collaborating, maybe, like, I don't want to say outside your comfort zone, but with
mm.
other artists, maybe that not necessarily people would link you with, or, someone totally separate, I don't want to use someone as an example because, but you know what I mean. Like, let's say a rapper, for instance,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or do you
No,
know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
like that, or someone different that isn't necessarily from your comfort zone. But would you be up for that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a long, long list of people that I want to work with, especially independently. One of the main ones for me is Rihanna Keane. I mean, she's got
Mm,
the most beautiful jazz voice that I've heard since probably about 2007 when I first heard of Amy Winehouse's stuff.
yeah.
Um, and she's really in that kind of ilk, and I just appreciate what she does. I mean, I've seen her post a couple of covers of Adele's new record and stuff, and it's not her lyrics, but it just hits you anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she's definitely somebody that I want to collaborate with in the future. I'm actually doing a project with a rapper from the US coming up. It's going to be like a joint EP collaboration, a couple of solo
Okay.
stuff on there, but the majority of it being almost like a duet situation. Like
Right,
he has
right.
his verses, I do the hook, etc.
You've
And
worked
that's
with him
coming.
before, though, I believe. Is this the guy that have you worked with him before?
Gary Houston, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah,
worked
yeah.
with him a couple of times. Yeah,
He's
I
on my
went
playlist. I'm
to
sure you're on there. He's a song that
yeah.
I've got, a recent one as well. It was only, well, say this year, last year, 2021. I'm sure he dropped
Yeah,
something
we've done
on it.
two together. We've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
a song called Jam, which is really dark, and I loved it. And then we did a track a couple of years ago called Selfish, which is
yeah,
like
yeah,
high up in your range, Michael Jackson, Dirty Diana style. Do you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? It's up there.
I think I've definitely heard Gem. I think is that the recent one. I've definitely heard
That's
that
the recent one. Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got the album, and
Yeah,
strangely, I've never actually linked the two because I know it's like it says Martin
yeah.
Yates, but I didn't link the two. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
think
yeah.
so.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's me and him.
that's
We
crazy.
recorded
So
that.
you've got a project coming out. Sorry, did you say?
Yeah, we're going to start working on it in the next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
getting all the lyric ideas, etc. down. But Jam, we recorded when I went to New York in 2019, I think it was.
Mm.
Um, we was in the studio really late at night, and there's like these team of people around him, just like producing the beat, kind of on demand, what he
Wow.
feels at
Okay.
that moment. Then we went into a separate room, wrote the hook, he did his verses, and we was there till about 6 in the morning and got it laid down there and then. And I'm super proud of that one because it talks
Yeah. Yeah.
about somebody else who struggled. There's a lot of mental health subject in there and stuff like that, which I wanted to touch on in my own stuff as well. But yeah, we go into the studio remotely. He'll be doing his stuff. I'll be doing it here. In the next couple of weeks to
The
start working
joys
on
of
some ideas.
COVID.
I know. I can't wait to get back over there, to be honest. If I could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
there, I would. 100%.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You touched on a good point because, strangely, I recorded an episode around mental health in music, only the other day. So it was, it's strange that you bring that up, but I wanted to talk about
Mm.
it because you mentioned the Ned as well, feeling that sort of anxiety, playing in front of
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
audience. How do you kind of cope, I suppose, with, dealing with those kind of, if you have them, but those kind of issues and having to, because I'm the same, if I get on a stage or even if I've got to talk in front of someone, I've got to present
Mm.
something or, sometimes come across very confident, but inside I'm quaking in my boots. But how do you
Well,
deal with that in terms of,
yeah. So particular shows in terms of like when I've done it when it's been like full band. I mean, I don't just have to think of myself. I have to think about the band's mental health as well. How are they feeling? So we do prep talks and stuff like that beforehand, or warm up with a couple of songs with guitar or cajon or whatever it is, and just have a little bit of fun. So it takes that kind of pressure off. Obviously, when you hit the stage, for me, getting up to the stage is the worst feeling in the world. I'm like, this is going to go absolutely pear shaped. Um, but I make sure that I've done my warm up and my tea and honey and
mm,
lozenges and all that kind of stuff. I used to take a shot of whiskey before I go on. I don't do it anymore.
how
Um,
come?
I just I just want to be completely aware of what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a couple of gigs where I was losing a couple of lines and stuff. I was like, no, just for precaution. I'm not drinking before a show anymore. um, but I make sure that everybody else is comfortable around me. As soon as they're comfortable, I can calm down because
Yeah,
they know what they're doing. In return, I don't have to deal with anybody messing up or anything like that. So it throws me off. I don't have to deal with
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So that takes the pressure off a lot. Um, 1 or 2 songs into my set, I usually calm down. That's when I start chatting the utmost to my audience about all sorts of stuff. I go into all sorts of stuff. And then that having that contact with your audience calms me down
Mm,
as well. So the rest of the hour set or whatever it is, it's just fun. It's just so much fun. And when you see people having fun, you're gonna have fun, you know?
100%.
And it's
100%.
our job to make sure they have a great night. And
Yeah.
that I make sure that just before I go on, I make sure that I kind of drill it into my head. It's not about me. It's about them having a good time. So if they're having a good time, we're having a great time.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit of both because you know you want to get the enjoyment out of it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get some self satisfaction from not just your performance, but making it worthwhile. You know, you've spent hours in the studio,
Mhm.
days, months in the studio, and yeah, you want the crowd and you know the audience to be able to connect with that. But I think at the same time, it's also about you being able to come off that stage knowing that you put in a good performance, knowing that you've satisfied not just the audience but yourself as well, you know, knowing that what you've wrote down, you know, on a piece of paper or, you know, you've gone into a vocal booth and you've had to perform that, that is
Yeah.
actually connected with someone. I think that's probably one of the best feelings coming off a stage and feeling that feeling.
100%. I mean, when we started performing yesterday, which was the last single, I felt some we first performed it in London at the Bedford.
Mm.
Sold out show. There was a lot of faces looking at me, right? And it was just me and the guitarist, Jake, who's like my right hand man. Um, and he just said to me just before, he said, just calm down. They'll love
Mm.
it. And it was the first performance of that record. And there was people in tears and all sorts and people necking wine to it. It was great. I loved it. I thought that's exactly how I want people to react. And a couple of people started harmonizing at the end. It was mad. It was, and that seems to, we do that sort of like mid set.
Mm.
And that seems to like kind of pinpoint like a turn in me. That's when I kind of feel really, really confident on stage. And I feel like I
Yeah.
can give the best show and feel satisfied when I come off. My early shows, I never felt satisfied. I thought, no, I was rubbish. You know, I can't do this again. But now I feel like I've come into my own as an artist and I know how to entertain, which is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm trying to think last time we spoke, I think you was either planning on doing the Hare and Hounds or you were in the process of getting the Hare and Hounds as one of the venues. So what was that feeling like? Because it's a very, I think we've said it before in here, you know, Sunflower Lounge, iconic, you know,
Mm.
O2, iconic, but Hare and Hounds is a very, very, you know, it's got so much history within those walls. But what was that like performing there?
Yeah, so it was originally it was meant to be a really small show because it was going to be socially distanced at the beginning. Um, and then obviously restrictions started coming down, so we upgraded the venue. We was
Mm.
meant to do the Sunflower Lounge, and I think Dead Wax in Digbeth was on the card as well. But then we could do it, so I was like, they offered me the Hare and Hounds. I went, yeah, absolutely. That's the only venue around Birmingham that I haven't played yet
Yeah, yeah.
that I've always wanted to do. And there's obviously the little plaque outside saying UB40 first played here and stuff.
It's
Um,
iconic.
it is. It's prestigious and it's iconic, and that venue means a lot to so many people.
Mm.
Um, and just being there, you feel something as soon as you walk into the venue and on the stage. You feel something. It's like
Mm.
when I went into a studio in Peckham in May last year, and it's where Florence and the Machine records most of her stuff. And I went in
Right.
there, and you feel a presence. You know, you feel something, and that's exactly what happened at the Hare and Hounds. And for me, that was our best show we've ever done.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to obviously the venue and feeling that confidence in yourself, as well as the audience and everybody that was involved with it, you know. So I'd love to return to the Hare and Hounds at some point to do something.
Yeah,
100%.
100. I think you will. I think you will. You know,
Yeah.
once we can get Boris out of Parliament and we can start getting back to
I'm
usual.
all for that. I love it.
I tell you what, it's a nightmare. But talk to me about the EP you mentioned earlier. Trying to think of which EP because you've got that many coming out, but the one which was due to come out and is
Yeah.
in the process of coming out. I think you said March is the date.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the EP? What can we expect from it?
So this is probably the longest project in the making I've ever known in my life. This is this will actually, believe it or not, be my debut EP, which is
Mm,
wild to me because I should have released at least 4 by now. Obviously, you know, stops and starts. You write songs. There was an EP ready to go out about 3 years ago, I didn't like the songs. I'd lived with them way too much. So I
Mm,
was like, nah. We put them out as singles, and I was cool. I kind of forgot about it. This one, it's taken so long because I wanted it to be relevant to the time in
mm.
my life as well as everybody else that can reflect on it. And so it compiled, I think there's 7 songs, including 2 acoustic tracks.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, the most recent single, Let You Go, will be on there. There'll be an acoustic version of that, which I prefer to the
Mhm.
studio recorded one. Purely because of the intimate, you can actually hear the lyrics and what they're about. You can hear the
Yeah.
story. And I wanted that with that song. But obviously, the studio version is, it's kind of got like an Afrobeat kind of vibe about it. It's a bit of an island feel.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's that song. Then there's a song called Choose, which isn't out yet either. That'll be an EP track. And that's very much about drunken nights and getting home way too late, not really remembering what you've said
we,
and who you've said it to.
we can relate
you
to
know,
that. We can all relate to
yeah.
that one.
And the chorus is quite hooky as well, which I'm excited for people to hear. And then we've got another song called Wish You Well, which is just finished up on the mixing side of things. And that's about moving on and, you know, kind of being at peace with the situation and
Mm.
saying it's all right. Everything that happened, I've taken it in my stride and I'm all right. You can go now because I'm going to live my life. And I feel like we need that,
Yeah, yeah,
especially as our generation. People need that relief, knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel after something
yeah.
crap has happened. So I wanted to reflect that. So yeah, 7 songs. I'm buzzing for it to come out. I'm buzzing.
Uh, have we got a date in March, or we're not able to say yet? Or
I want to say, but it is smack bang in the middle of March. It's around the
yeah, yeah,
18th,
yeah.
somewhere there. Um, we've got quite a lot coming up in preparation for that. So we've got a couple of photo shoots, got quite a few magazine interviews to pre-record, etc. And then we've got the music video side, and we've got like a dance video thing as well for one of the songs, which is going to be incredible. It's going to be
Yeah.
like salsa dancing and all sorts, mad. Um, but I'm going to kind of try and take a step back in terms of visuals this
Mm.
time. I don't necessarily want my face on camera throughout the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Um,
Why is
yeah,
that?
I want to. I don't know. I just want to give. You don't see enough of different people in my videos. It's
Mm.
usually just me, like walking up a street and reflecting on stuff, or I don't know, just crying about something. Um, but this time, I want to give other people a chance to get themselves across on camera. So the
Mm.
dance video for one of the songs is taking prominence because I want to create a vibe for that whole song, and that is exactly how I wanted to do it. That's the only
Yeah.
concept I could think of that would fit. So yeah, I kind of want to take a little bit of a step back and get other people to tell the stories of the songs, which I think will be really cool.
But I think that's why I liked yesterday as well, because I think it's very, as much as the video, the visuals have put together really well. I
Mm.
think just the fact that it's you, it's black and white, just you, camera, singing into it. I think that is so powerful because I think
Yeah,
you know there's no distractions, and I think sometimes when you've got visuals, um, sometimes you get distracted by what's in the visuals as opposed to listening to the song. But with that kind of visual, you can't do that because it's you're talking to the camera or you're singing to the camera, and you've got no choice but to take in what you're saying. So I get your point. I think it's something that there's a fine balance, isn't there, around making sure that we don't lose sight of the artist, um,
exactly,
but
exactly.
also making sure that you're also giving the opportunity to others, like you just said, to get their visual presence across as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've got so many talented friends in terms of actors and extras and dancers and all different kinds of things, and I just want to really get them involved in stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them, it's not an easy industry to break into, this whole show business thing. it's
Mm.
um it's very restricted in that way. So if I can give somebody else an opportunity, I'm all for it. I don't need to be on camera. I wrote the songs, I sing the songs. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
um Obviously, I'll do a cameo or something like that.
At the end.
At the end,
Just
see you
waving.
later.
Thanks for listening.
But yeah, with yesterday, that song especially was like I wanted to have a conversation with the
Yeah.
viewer, and that was so important to me. I spoke to the director Chris about it a couple of days before we filmed it, and he said, "Yeah, completely, I get it. Close up in the face, black and white,
Mm.
tell the story." And those shots we did around Canary Wharf, where you can see the beautiful view in the background sometimes, that was like an added bonus. I
Mm.
was like, I don't necessarily want to do it, but it was going to look really cool. Then I'm cool with it, you know. Um, so yeah, it was a conversation thing. Whereas the next set of videos, they're going to be very much storytelling, and that's why I'm excited for people to see. I want them to know the story of the record.
Yeah, definitely. And just, I know we haven't really mentioned it, but Let You Go, obviously the latest single. Um, Tell us the story behind that as well. Give us a bit of a backstory as to what that song's trying to tell us.
Yeah, Let You Go is it's kind of like the aftermath of everything, and it's midway through the EP. It's like real time track list. The EP
Mm,
is like from beginning to end. You see the story progression, and Let You Go is very much about letting the person go, but not really wanting to, being forced to. And I've never really written a song like that before because I was
mm,
never in that place mentally to do that. And then these three producers from Hackney hit me up on Instagram and said, "We'd love to work with you." We jumped on a call. They played me this beat, and instantly, I swear to God, it was like something took over my body. I was like, "Yeah, I feel this. I hear this in the club." Like,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we've done a really great remix to it as well. And it's just fresh. It felt renewed. You know, it's not usually my style,
Mm,
but it's very much chart music, which I don't necessarily take any interest in chart music. I just make the music I want to make and what I like. Um, but that song is very much like top 40 pop, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was fun to do it because I've never written to a beat before
Mm,
that. So it was new territory and I enjoyed it. And it fits with the story well, which I didn't know was missing, but it makes perfect sense now.
yeah, yeah, definitely, 100%. And obviously, we can't wait for the EP to come out
Mm.
middle of March. Can't give us a date, but middle of March. One thing I wanted to ask as well, because obviously, I know during your live shows, I think I've seen this on Instagram or it might be Facebook, but I know that you do sometimes I think I've seen you do like an Amy Winehouse or a
Mm.
Queen, sort of a tribute to them. But where did that come from? How did that start? Where did that sort of idea come from?
So I always try and do like two covers during my set. Sometimes because I don't have that many songs. But now we're building it up. We try and take some of the covers
We
out,
can
but
drop
we
it to
usually do two.
one tribute at
Yeah,
once, but maybe
right.
yeah, yeah.
Do a
I
medley
hear
of something.
you.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse, she's influenced me since like 2004, 5, somewhere there, since the Frank record came out. She's um she's really one of the reasons why I started writing music in the first place. So I feel like I owe that kind of honor
Mm,
to somebody that had such a profound effect on me growing up. And I just adore her. She's incredible. And the Queen, that was a really last minute thing. We only did it we trialed it at the Dover show, and then we did it
mm,
full band at the Hare and Hounds. And I just love the record. I love Queen. I love Freddie. Anyways, performance wise, he's had a massive effect on me. He knew
yeah.
how to entertain an audience, and I loved that effect he had. And how he grasped them in his hand, you know. And Love of My Life was it was a group suggestion, and I listened to it a lot, a lot, a lot. I thought this is going to be really hard to play, you know, for the
Mm.
band because it's very eclectic. You know, there's lots of jazz and blues and rock throughout the whole thing, and it just went down really well, and it fitted with the set in terms of
Yeah, yeah.
storytelling. It fit right between Yesterday and Let You Go. It was in right smack bang in the middle of that, so I thought it's perfect. But I love to pay tribute to the icons that inspired me. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%, definitely. I'm just looking in the background there, I can see loads of records. I'm thinking there's got to be some quality records amongst those that collection.
Oh, listen, my most prized possession in there is Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I love that record.
Oh,
It's in there somewhere.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
prized possession, I love it.
It's crazy because obviously, you don't see many record collections and even record
No.
shops now. You don't really see any. You have to go to record fairs if you want to pick up a decent sort of bit of vinyl. But is that something you do in your spare time? Is it something that you try and keep up as a hobby,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, it's a passion. I try and get as many records as I can every week. Like, I've been traveling a lot the past week or two, going to different parts of the country and little villages and stuff. And they seem to be the places that have all these
Mm.
huge
Yeah.
vinyl shops.
The
So I just
hoarding
get
on the
lost in there for
hoarders.
4 hours. The hoarders, right? So I just get lost in there for 4 hours and usually come out with at least 5 or 10 gems that I've been searching for years. But I'm a collector. I love
Yeah,
collection. I've got
yeah, yeah,
everything of Whitney, everything of Michael Jackson, everything of Prince,
yeah,
Barbara
yeah.
Streisand, Lauren Hill. It's everywhere.
It's the
I
that's
love
cool,
it.
man. Yeah, I'm with you. All those names you're flying out, I'm with you 100%. You know, I think they're
Yeah,
all part of a generation, obviously before us to an extent. Um, that has had a massive impact. It's still to this day. You know, you speak to children now, they probably still know about Michael Jackson or they know about Prince or they, you know, maybe a bit younger than my kids, but you know, you speak to like 15-year-old, they'd know who Aretha Franklin is, or
mm,
they know those kind of artists that not necessarily you would expect them to know about because that it wasn't their childhood, it wasn't their timeline. But I'm with you 100%. You know, I think they've definitely left their mark, not just in music, but in the world. You know, beyond music, which is interesting. You don't really see that with artists these days. Where I'm trying to think of someone quickly off the top of my head. It just doesn't happen. You know, it doesn't happen where
no,
you
it doesn't.
maybe Amy was probably the last one. I think.
I think so. I mean, if I ever have kids, my kids will listen to all of this plus everything else that I can find. They will know real music. Do you know what I mean?
They won't have a choice, will they? But it's
No,
true. I think
absolutely
that's
not.
I think that's the problem now. That you kind of touched on it a little bit before that you don't really mess around with top 40 musical. I looked at the
No, not really.
charts the other day and I didn't know half the artists. I'll be honest. I didn't know. I just didn't know who they were. I think there was someone who was number one. Never heard of them. Never. I couldn't even tell you who they were. Which is a shame because I used to growing up as a kid. That was part of your Sunday. You'd sit down, you
It
listen
was.
to top 40, you'd wait for number one to come on.
Yeah.
Um, but it's changed now. I think times have changed. We've got streaming. We've got Spotify, Apple, all that stuff,
hmm
SoundCloud, and TikTok's a new thing. The kids are on TikTok and all that stuff. But
I love it.
oh, it's crazy, man. I was trying. I mean, I don't have a TikTok, but there was an artist that I'd seen on Twitter, and she said she had 300,000 TikToks streams. I'm not sure if it's the same thing,
God.
but she only made 19 pence off the TikTok,
That's
which is just
mad.
crazy. Which is why I'm trying to push everyone to Bandcamp and places like that, and make sure that you get the best. Sign up for PRS, all that stuff as well. It's worth doing,
Oh,
100%. But
100%. 100%. If you know, at some point you have to put your business head on and realize that you want to do this as a career. So the money's got to come from somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's fun at the start. It's fun and it's a bit of a myth. It's all the glamour and all that kind of stuff. But you get to the nitty gritty of stuff, and it's like, where's the money coming from? So
yeah, yeah.
you find yourself trying to find ways. I mean, we still don't get paid enough for streaming. I think that's
Mhm.
completely unfair. Always think that until they change it, but it'll get there. I think
Yeah, yeah,
it'll get there with enough
definitely.
push and strive from artists and the public getting behind us for it. I think we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, no, there needs to be a change, definitely, and I think that's one
Mhm.
reason why I stopped putting music out as well, because it was just, uh, I'd rather put out music somewhere where I can still get people listening to it and they can hear it,
Mhm.
but I'm not in it. I don't think I was ever really in it I wasn't in it for the right reasons, I think, as well.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely that the money side of it, unless you're hitting 5 million streams every week, it's a hard, studio time doesn't pay for itself. And this is what I try
It certainly does not.
this is what I try and tell people all the time. I think they just think, studio time's just there. It's not, you have to pay for it. You have to pay for mastering. You have to pay for, like you just said, your EPs, at the mastering and sort of the post production point now as well. So
Mm.
a lot of that costs money. A lot of people don't realize that artwork, visuals cost money. So it's
All costs
it's
money.
an expensive
If you
game to
wanted
be in.
to, 100%. If you want it to professional standard, it costs a lot of money. It's a lot of
Mm.
dollar.
Yeah, yeah.
So
People
it's got
don't
to come
realize
from
that though.
somewhere.
They don't realize
No,
that at all.
this is
Um,
why I think artists find themselves touring so much because that's where you get your real money from these days.
of-
Merchandise, etc. So you got artists that I know constantly on tour the whole year.
mm,
It's graft, it's work, and I
yeah.
don't think some people see it that way. But it is a lot of
Mm.
work. It's not always fun. you
Mhm.
know.
No, no, it's not, and that's the side of it. Again, going back to the conversation that I had with someone around mental health and music, that's the
Mm,
side people don't really see. They don't see you in the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning, or they don't see you,
no.
you know, getting a train somewhere or driving somewhere 4 o'clock in the morning to be somewhere for
Hmm.
7. They don't see that side of it. They just see, oh, he's got a new visual, or he's got a new album, or he's collaborating with someone. Oh, that's good. But they don't see all the, and this is where I think you're right. This is where that live performance comes into it, because that's where you get your, not only your bread and butter, but you also get the sort of accolades, the appreciation for what you actually do, because they're the people that actually turn up to listen to your music. They pay the ticket to come and see you, which is, anyone can get 9.99 and get Spotify, or get a
Mm.
30-day trial. Anyone can do that. But
Right.
to actually turn up and listen to you live is something that I think is the best gratitude, you can show to an artist.
100%. They're your foundation and your hardcore fans. You know they're going to support you through the thick and the thicker. So,
Yeah, literally.
appreciate them as much as they appreciate you.
Yeah, literally. I'm
Give
just
them your
just before
best.
we wrap up, because I know you said you got a long list of people you'd love to collaborate with. Just give
Mhm.
me maybe your top 3 if you can off that list. It could be,
Ooh.
it's a tough one. We're gonna wrap it up soon, but I thought we'll end it on a high. Let's go for the top
Ooh.
3.
For me, Jesse Ware is probably the first one. I absolutely adore that one. Writing or singing or both, I would take it.
Yeah.
Um, I think Adele is on everybody's everybody's list, isn't she? Really, I'll
100%.
put her on. I'll put her on number 2. Number 3, I say
This
Rihanna
is where it gets
King.
a bit tricky.
Yeah, I just say Rihanna King. She's independent and she's killing it. She's
Yeah.
she's gaining that audience, and rightfully so. She's got a beautiful voice.
Yeah. Very talented. Very, very talented. You mentioned, obviously, you got your EP, you got the collaboration EP coming out as well. You've
Mm,
got your song with James Reid coming out as
yes,
well. Busy guy, but what
busy.
can we expect beyond? I say, what can we expect? Like, you just haven't given us 2 EPs and a single, but I'm assuming, obviously, you're going to want to try and get some tours in with that, maybe some visuals, like you mentioned as well. You mentioned the visuals earlier, so is that what's in the pipeline? Live shows as well, maybe live streams if we end up in lockdown again. Is that
Oh, we
in
probably
on the
bloody will,
cards?
won't we?
Yeah,
We
hundred
probably will.
percent.
Yeah, so the next 3 months is focusing on marketing, promotion, visuals, all the kind of background stuff. We want to head out on tour in May, and then the collaboration EP will come out, and then I'll go over to the States in September. Fingers crossed. Um, to do a show in New York, which will be new territory. And yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm buzzing for it. Just
You're
get me
gonna
on the
need
flight.
a double shot of whiskey
Oh,
before you get
mate,
on the stage.
that's when the drinking comes back in. Let me tell you.
Yeah, definitely. Just let the listeners know where they can find you on socials, or the streaming platforms where you're at. Let them know.
Yeah, Martin Yates music across the board: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify.
Nice and simple. Martin, honestly, it's been a pleasure as always. We're gonna have to do a part 3, because once the EP
I
drops, I want
know.
to sit down. We were meant to sit down, weren't we, and have a proper
Mm,
conversation, which will be good to do, whether that's in the studio environment or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna sit down and dissect the EP properly,
100%.
have an in-depth conversation about that. I think that'd be really good. But appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day to do this as well.
No, thanks for having me. It's been great, as
Yeah, and
usual.
we look forward to middle of March. EP coming out, and obviously James Reid's single and a collaborative EP as well. We're looking forward to all of that. So
Yes.
all the best for 2022. I'm sure we're going to speak before then as well. We'll try and keep in contact. That's one thing I've got to do this year. I've got to keep better contact with people. I'm such a sort of read your message, respond in my head, but don't actually respond. I'm one of
No, I
those. So
feel it. I've
yeah,
been there,
so,
trust me. Been
and then
there.
it's like 2 weeks later, I'm like, "Oh, shit, I didn't respond. I better do it now." Or the person responds, "Are you okay to respond to them?" "Yeah, yeah, I'll do it now."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna do that a lot more this year. I'm gonna be proper, like, keep a tab of who's messaged me and message them straight back rather than mentally message them. But yeah, no, Martin, honestly, thank you for coming on. This has been Ear to the Streets, episode 2. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, stay safe, and let's hope Boris Johnson is out of Parliament soon so we can have our lives back to normal. Thank you all for listening.